You ever boot up a game that clearly wants to be Doom, but somehow ends up feeling like a tech demo that misplaced the fun? Yeah, that's Rebel Engine. On paper, this thing sounds like the fever dream of someone who stayed up all night watching FPS trailers. High-speed gunplay, flashing melee combos, health regen tied to performance, a physics engine built for chaos. It should be fun, it should flow, but every system is punching in a different direction. It's the gaming equivalent of 5 drummers trying to play the same song at once, all in different tempos. And look, I've worked on FPS games, I've tested pre-release builds, I get how ambitious prototypes can feel before they click. But this one, it doesn't feel early, it just feels lost. Still, I had to know, beneath all that noise, is there any rhythm worth saving? To find out, we've got to start with one thing no shooter can survive without. What happens when even the controls feel like the first boss fight? Rebel Engine doesn't just challenge you, it confuses you. There's no key rebinding, no FOV slider, and I know I'm weird, but the invert Y option only works on keyboard and mouse. If you're using controller, you're stuck with whatever someone else decided felt right at 3 AM. Every button layout feels random, like the devs threw a dice deciding your control scheme. Your melee, dodge, interact, and shoot buttons are all mapped like a dare. It's not intuitive, it's intrusive. You don't play Rebel Engine, you argue with it. There's no proper tutorial for combos either. The UI doesn't guide you, so half the time you're pausing mid-fight thinking, wait, was that a melee or a reload? That kills flow faster than bad ping. And that's where the immersion breaks. Because a great shooter should disappear between your fingers. When the controls are right, you stop thinking and you just react. Micropunk nailed that rhythm. Bolt Gun nailed that rhythm. Here, it's like someone unplugged the amp halfway through the concert. So what happens when the fighting actually starts though? You'd think this is where Rebel Engine redeem itself. But no. If anything, the chaos gets louder. The game wants to be slick. You can see flashes of ambition everywhere. There's a Doom-style push-forward combat mixed with Devil May Cry's melee flair, but it feels more like a tug of war than a power fantasy. You start a melee chain and enemies somehow rocket skyward like cheap fireworks. They float awkwardly, defying gravity, and add any sense of impact. Instead of looking stylish, it looks broken. You want to feel powerful, but the game keeps tripping over its own physics. Ammo for me ran out too quickly, forcing you to constantly swap weapons. And this might be cool if they all interlinked, but the problem is they all feel the same. Different skins, same weak punch. It's a system that demands precision, but rewards chaos. Like trying to shred a guitar solo while juggling. And trust me, I wanted to love it. You can feel it reaching for greatness. But then there's the combo-based health regen system. It should make combat more intense, but every time you try to chain hits, your targets fly out of range. Your reward for good aim is watching your enemy drift off into orbit. All of it adds up to something ambitious, but exhausting. You can see what the devs were aiming for, that fast, flow state, shooter magic, but it's trapped behind friction and floatiness. Still though, sometimes a game can get away with rough mechanics if it looks or sounds incredible. After all, a great presentation can carry a mediocre loop, right? But what if the game looks like a trailer and sounds like an alarm clock? The first time I saw Rebel Engine's logo, I thought, alright, this could be something. That glowing, animated 80s vibe, it's got charisma. You expect neon chaos. You expect attitude. Then the menu fades, and you're dropped into visuals that feel half-baked. Flat textures, bland lighting, environments that look like early blockouts. Again, you can see what they're going for, but it just never quite gets there. The enemies look like they're still waiting for final rigging passes. Animations are stiff, like motion capture that didn't survive export. And the sound design? Oh boy. At first, I thought that beep meant I'd won something. Nope, just pain. There's this piercing, repetitive beep every time an enemy's about to attack, I think. It's not actually quite explained. It's not suspenseful, it's sensory punishment. 5 minutes in, and my ADHD brain was begging for mercy. It's the kind of sound that doesn't make you want to fight harder, it makes you want to smash the TV. You can feel the heart behind it. Someone on this team clearly loves 80s shooters and synthwave flair, but style without soul just feels hollow. It's all VHS energy with no film left in the cassette. Because sometimes great ideas just need better execution. So is there anything Rebel Engine actually gets right? Here's the wild part. Rebel Engine's tutorial design is actually solid. It explains its mechanics clearly. You get short pop-ups at the right moments, walking you through ideas that make sense in theory. The problem? The game itself never lives up to them. Every good idea collapses under its own ambition. Health regen through combos? Great, until the physics break it. Weapon variety? Smart, until you realise they all feel identical. Stylish visuals? Maybe until the colour grading flattens it all out. This is what happens when creativity outruns testing. Rebel Engine feels like a developer's whiteboard come to life, full of what if moments that never made it to this works. You can tell the devs care, there's passion here, there's imagination, but the end result is more concept art than cohesive experience. Because the ideas should work, they just don't. And honestly, that's what stings the most. There's a version of this game that could have worked. Tight physics, stronger weapon feel, smarter pacing, better combo chaining, and you can see glimpses of it between the cracks. But until that version exists, this one feels like early access energy without the early access tag. And that's what brings us to every big question every gamer has before buying anything new. Is Rebel Engine worth even the smallest chunk of your time or cash? So, should you play Rebel Engine right now? Honestly, no. Even for a budget title, it just doesn't justify the effort. I love rooting for small studios, especially when they swing big, but this one feels like a swing that never connected. There's no hidden gem here, just rough potential buried under broken systems. Maybe one day, with a few big updates, it'll find its footing, but right now, it's more of a learning experience than a fun one. If you're chasing that mix of fluid gunplay and satisfying momentum, Micropunk and Boltgun, like I said, already proved how to do it right. Play those instead. It's faster, tighter, and they're actually fun. And if you want to see how an indie did nail that Doom style energy, my Micropunk review is right here. But hey, if you value honest takes like this, stick around. Like, sub, or don't, I'm just glad you made it to the end of the video. And remember, it doesn't matter how cool a logo looks on the title screen, if it doesn't feel right in your hands, it's not worth pressing start.